emotional damage.
What's up, everybody? So, testing 1, 2, 3. What's up, everybody? So, we're going to do something a little different today. I am actually going to just sit here and talk. For your viewing pleasure, I will be putting some of my toy photos up on the screen for you, maybe a few product photos. But we're going to talk about Hasbro, aka Has-Blo. And we're going to talk about the Has-Bros. Anyways, so before we get started, as you know, I try not to script any of my YouTube videos. I feel it's the most honest way for me to do things. Sometimes it comes off a little weird. Um, Again, this video is not scripted. I did make a few notes, but not scripted. So, that being said, let's talk about Hasbro and the shit show that company has become. So, I'm going to start by saying, starting earlier this month, I began a boycott of Hasbro and Hasbro products. It's been hard. I'm not going to lie. It's been real hard. I have not bought any directly produced Hasbro products. I cheated a little bit because I bought products. I have bought one or two products that were Hasbro IPs that like G.I. Joe and Transformers, because for instance, like the 3-0 MDLX Sideswipe for Transformers, I picked that up. And I also picked up the Ultimates, Super 7 Ultimates Cobra Commander by Super 7, Reaction. Well, no, it's not Reaction, it's Ultimate. So, but I picked that up because, one, those items were designed, months, almost a year ago. And with the Cobra Commander, like, it came out almost a year ago. So my boycott, in my opinion, that money's already been spent on those items for Hasbro. Going forward, I have boycotted the Black Series and boycotted the Vintage Collection and anything produced directly by Hasbro. I'm going to try to stay away from Hasbro IPs as well. Hey, Miss Gretel. But yeah, it's hard. But the reason I'm boycotting Hasbro is because those of you that don't pay attention to toy news or industry news or even corporate news, last December 2023, Hasbro laid off 1,100 people. That was 20% of their workforce. That was in 2023. As of this November 2024, at the beginning of the month, they laid off an additional 400 plus people. I can't get behind a fucking company that treats people like fucking numbers. Like, it's the holidays, it's Christmas, and they decide to lay people off at the end of the year again so they can make their end of year, their final quarter look good. Because honestly, people are short on cash right now. People are fucking struggling. And, the economy sucks. I don't care, what the news says, stuff like that. Yeah, the economy is great if you're a billionaire or a millionaire. The economy is great, if you, have an income over like 300,000 or 400,000 a year. But for us everyday people, the economy sucks, and you know 70 to 80% of the country is regular people like me. And I have to pick and choose what toys I have started buying. Um, I can't go out and buy everything I want like I did uh, pre-pandemic. Since the pandemic and the inflation has gotten worse and worse, and toy prices have gone up. And I'm not the only toy collector feeling the punch in the wallet, So, that being said, you know, I feel like a company that is going to treat people like that and lay them off at the holidays in an economy like this where people are literally doing hundreds and hundreds of job interviews and multiple interviews for specific jobs just to get a position, or doing multiple interviews for a job that they might not even get. I mean, it's just kind of a whole fucked up situation, honestly. I mean, the whole fucking thing is a fucked up situation. And me boycotting Hasbro, not only does it, save me money, but it also will make a point for Hasbro that, you fucked around for too long and now you're finding out. Um so yeah, I mean, yeah. Um Plus, for those of you who don't know, um, Hasbro is also in the midst of a huge fucking lawsuit. Um, Huge lawsuit that I've heard some analysts, not toy people, mind you, actual people who follow Wall Street, who follow corporations, and who are either lawyers or stockbrokers, say that this could put Hasbro out of business. So, you know, your your typical toy guy, if he's like, "Oh no, this won't put Hasbro out of business," don't listen to them. Um, they, I listen. When it comes to stuff like this with Hasbro, I listen to the people who follow the money. Um, when it comes, if I want to know about a toy's quality, or if we're talking about a HasLab, then I'll follow a toy YouTuber, or, you know, somebody who's doing toy stuff. But when it comes to the money, sorry, your typical toy douchebag isn't going to know what the fuck is going on. Um, and like I said, Hasbro's one of those companies, man. It's like, they don't give a fuck about the little guy like you and me. Um, Regardless of what your politics are, whether you lean left or right or in the middle, um, Hasbro treats their employees and their customers like shit. And the only people they answer to is their stockholders. Like Michael says from like Michael says from Retro Blasting, these corporations don't have your best interest in mind. They only care about the bottom line and their shareholders. And the funny thing is, their shareholders, that's where this whole lawsuit is coming from. So apparently, for those of us who do toy collect and stuff, we've been, for the last few years, we've been kind of lucky. We have been able to go to Ollie's and buy a lot of Hasbro products at dirt cheap prices between Holly's and Ross, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, stuff like that. You know, and then, of course, there's places like Second and Charles that reduces stuff from time to time. And then, of course, the Walmart and Target clearance stuff. And, it's, yeah. You're like, God, how is fucking Hasbro surviving as a company if all this shit is getting reduced? I mean, unless it's a figure that's really sought after, unless it's like, a hero, like a really big hero, or, a character that everybody's fucking waiting for. It's been a complete shit show. And don't even get me started on the fucking train wreck that is the Acolyte. Again, regardless of your politics, the series was a shit series. Um, Not because of any, gender politics or anything like that. The series was a shit series because it was poorly written, it was poorly directed, and most of all, where did the money go? 24 million per episode. It looked like something that was it looked like it was a play put on by, a high school production. It was really bad. Um, you know, which is sad because the actors, I liked a lot of the actors or actresses. I actually like Leslie Headland. She did a great job on the Heathers series years ago. But you know what? Let's get past that. That we're not talking about the fucking Acolyte. We're talking about fucking Hasbro. And when it came to the Acolyte, Hasbro fucking phoned it in. Like, those are some of the worst looking action figures I've ever fucking seen. Like, there's action figures that came out for The Force Awakens that look better than the Acolyte action figures. And the thing is, I'm not the only person who's noticed, because both the Black Series and the Vintage Collection, every time I go to Walmart, there's Star Wars stuff selling, but the fucking Acolyte figures are fucking endless peg warmers. I think the fucking General Lando is selling better than the Acolyte action figures. Hell, like the Acolyte action figures, like there's two characters, their lightsabers look like giant fucking dildos. Like they're not even like thin lightsabers like everybody else gets. They're like big and bulky and fat. I'm like, what the fuck? Are we fucking kidding? But again, the all the products that's showing up at Ollie's, all the stuff that's getting reduced, Hasbro calling it in with certain figures and certain toys that just aren't selling. Um, Yet, they do they supposedly, are keeping their head afloat, and you have to ask yourself how. How can you produce so much crap and keep your head afloat? And and you have to ask again, if you're producing so much crap, how much does it really cost to produce that crap? Because if Ollie's is selling a figure for $10, that means that fucking it has to cost a lot less than $10, because Ollie's is trying to make a profit, and Hasbro doesn't want to take too much of a loss, or maybe they do. Maybe they don't mind taking the loss because they just lay employees off to balance the scales. But my point being is, you know, um, yeah, I mean, it's a shit show. And refuse, it's like, sorry guys, I lost a train of thought there for a second. Um, but yeah, it's like you have to ask yourself, like, what the fuck is Hasbro doing? Well, based on the current news on the lawsuit, we know what they've been doing now. They've been flubbing the numbers to their investors. Um, there's a lot more, intricacies to it, but to just generalize it, that's what they've been doing. They've basically been lying about the profits. They've been lying about the overproduction, and then they've also been lying about the not only the overproduction, but the figures that aren't actually selling and ending up at Ollie's. And from what I've read, this is actually illegal. They're not allowed to lie to their investors like that. Like, apparently that is that's illegal when it comes to the Federal Trade Commission. And um Hasbro has fucked around once too many times, and now they're going to find out, because not only are they getting the living shit out of them by their investors, which is a class action lawsuit that a lot of analysts are speculating will put Hasbro out of business. That doesn't include the fines that they're going to have to pay from the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. Yeah, it's a fucked up situation. Um, you know, they probably won't have the money to re-up the license for things like Star Wars. We know that Transformers and GI Joe are in-house properties. Transformers kinda, because technically, um, Transformers is actually owned by Takara, but that is actually the Diaclone license in Japan. The Transformers moniker is owned by Hasbro because if you know anything about the 80s, you know, Diaclone was the toy in Japan, and when Hasbro brought it over, they named it Transformers and added a story to it. The Japanese have elaborated on that story in their own mythology. There's several manga and anime that have and haven't come to the United States when it comes to that. But Hasbro has not a lot of IPs under its belt. And if it doesn't put them out of business, um, it will definitely drain the coffers enough that they will get their wish that they can become an IP holder and no longer have to produce toys, because that's the only way they're going to be able to make money in the beginning, because they're not going to have the capital to um, produce toys, um, because their shareholders are going their shareholders are about to suck them dry in this lawsuit. Um, so Hasbro's only going to be able to license out to companies like Super 7, to make Ultimates figures, or 3-0 to do Transformers, because this is going to fucking destroy them. And don't even get me started on the train wreck that is Transformers 1, because honestly, Hasbro gave. You know what? I don't want to blame this on Hasbro when it comes to this. Hasbro actually did give that movie support. The movie studio didn't. Because the Transformers 1 toys are like eternal peg warmers. I've seen tons of people doing walkarounds of Walmart and Target, and they make jokes about it, about how the Transformers toys, as well as a lot of Star Wars toys, just are there the same every week. And that is the the movie studio's fault, because honestly, because Hasbro did produce product for Transformers 1. And honestly, personally, I like Transformers 1. I thought it was a great movie. Um, there are the haters out there for it. But it's a great movie. And I'm just gonna go from there. You know, I mean, based with Hasbro, I mean, not only have they fucked over their investors now, which are really the only people they have to answer to, they've been fucking us over as fans for a while. Like, let's talk about the quality control issues. GI Joe, which is probably the line that they honestly give the most love, because it's definitely not Star Wars and it's definitely not Transformers. But even GI Joe has had QC issues. If I remember correctly, the beginning of this year, when the what was it, the Crimson Guard came out, he had issues with, what was it? His arm would pop off, left arm, right arm. Um, you know, Warped accessories, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, there's the Hasbros, the people who defend Hasbro. They're like, well, what do you expect? It's only a $25 figure. It's like, yeah, it's a $25 figure. So in some cases, a $30 figure. I mean, Hasbro's been jacking up their prices and lowering their quality. There's other toy companies out there. Granted, they don't make GI Joe, but there's other toy companies out there that produce comparable product. Same scale, same amount of accessories, everything else at a much lower price point, um, with fewer QC issues. And you have to say, what the fuck is Hasbro doing? Because it's apparently they've always told us, people have always told us that they care about their shareholders first, and their fans second, but apparently that's a lie. They don't care about any fucking buddy. You know, they don't care about their shareholders because they've been lying to them, and they obviously don't care about us because all they want to fucking do is rape us. They want to take us and just shove it up our ass. Um, and like I said, Hasbro's played around and they fucked around for too long, and now they're gonna find out. Um, Also, the thing with the distribution, like, I think it's funny. Like, let's talk about. I was at Ollie's the other day, and there's certain figures that were up my Ollie's, like the Death Watch Mandalorian. And I was like, where the fuck did these come from? Like, I never once, well, I take that back. Once I saw like two at my local, one of my local Walmarts, because we got like 5 or 6 of them here in Fayetteville. I've never seen them at retail, yet fucking Ollie's has a fucking stack of them a mile high. Like, and of course, Hasbro in the beginning, and they'd be like, well, the distributions because of the pandemic, blah, blah, blah. Pandemic was 4 fucking years ago. Why the fuck have I never seen these at fucking retail, but fucking Ollie's has one a stack that's taller than me? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Um, yeah, and you gotta, and I hate to say it, man, it's like when this all fucking goes down and Hasbro fucking, is hurting bad, I just can't wait to look at the Hasbros and be like, dude, like, there's a lot of us who've tried to tell you for fucking years, Hasbro's a piece of shit company. Like, are you, it's like you've defended them, and in the end, like, they fucked their shareholders over, they fucked you over, they fucked everybody over. I mean, Cox really lives up to his name. He's a fucking dick. Um, and then there's always the whole thing with with Dungeons and Dragons. It's like you have them owning Wizards of the Coast, and D&D is like a fucking sinking rock right now. Um, most of the people I know aren't even buying D&D books anymore because it's like they want like 50 or 60 bucks per book, and half the time it's garbage. Don't get me wrong, there's random books in that like, what is it, Xanthar's Chest of Everything or whatever it was, or like the Ravenloft, the Ravenloft supplement that they came out with a year or two ago. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are random books that are good in the D&D line, but they're fewer. The amount of good books is fewer than there are. Sorry. The amount of good books are fewer in number than there are bad books. And we've tried to tell you for years. I've heard Michael from Retro Blasting say it. I've heard Articulated Ninja say it. You know, um, fucking Chris Cox and the chick who runs Wizards of the Coast. They came from Microsoft. They want to turn Hasbro into an intellectual property company and a video game company. They have no interest in producing toys. And what little bit of interest they do have, that it's a fucking joke is what it is. Like, yeah, it's crazy. Um and of course the Hasbros are going to defend them. Just like the Hasbros, they're going to be like, oh, that HasLab's not that bad. Like, really? Like, really? You're going to fucking defend a HasLab when companies like Ramen Toys are producing comparable vehicles at a far, far cheaper price. And yeah, I know a van isn't the same as a helicopter. When you compare the Dragonfly to the Ramen Toys van. Don't get me wrong, I understand that. But at the same time, when you compare the Ramen Toys, van to, let's say, that stupid fucking car that they tried to release for Legends, um, I mean, the fucking Ramen Toys van, in my opinion, is a better vehicle than the His tank. When you when you stop and match it dollar for dollar when it comes to size, accessories, what it can and can't do. Really, the only thing that the Ramen Toys doesn't have is headlights and a fucking light up screen. Which honestly, when you ask yourself that, the location of where those bulbs are, what is it? A button with one or two wires, a battery, and maybe one or two light bulbs. Like really, like Hasbro added $100 to the fucking His tank for some fucking LED light bulbs that probably cost them fucking $1 or less. Like, yeah, you guys are some simp motherfuckers. You understand that? Like, sorry, the Ramen Toys is producing far better vehicles. Hell, I'm not even really a big fan of Valaverse. Not for anything that Bobby Vala has or hasn't done. Bobby Vala is a great guy. I've met him personally. I met him at PowerCon a year or two ago. I just can't get into the Action Force toy line. As they aren't aesthetically pleasing, you know. Same thing with GI Joe. There's only one. I've only owned 2 or 3 GI Joe figures. I was buying them for a while for nostalgia purposes, and I got away from that. I think I have a total of like 4 GI Joes left, and 3 of them are Cobras. 2 Cobra Troopers and a Cobra Officer, and then I think Outback, the one with the Target exclusive, the Tiger Force one with the orange shirt. And like I said, when it comes to Valaverse, like I said, I don't personally like Valaverse as a toy because that's just the aesthetic. I'm not into the aesthetic of his military figures. But you get your money's worth with Valaverse. Multiple hands, multiple weapons, accessories, great articulation, quality control. Plus, Bobby Vala stands behind his fucking toys. Like I remember when Action Force first came out, and there were people where, if I remember correctly, the early Action Force figures, the legs would snap off because you needed to heat them up. Not only did Bobby Vala stand behind those figures and replace them for people, he also put a little thing in the packages that said, "Hey, you should warm this figure up before you try fucking moving the limbs." Bobby Vala's a stand-up guy as a business owner. He's a great dude. Same thing with Ramen Toys. Ramen Toys is fucking knocking it out of the park. But you fucking, simp motherfuckers who are Hasbros, like you sit there and you're like, oh, fucking Hasbro, blah, 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 blah. Fucking get a life, man. Like Hasbro is fucking dicking you over left and right. Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, you know, we're like, yeah, they're dicking us over because they don't answer to us. They answer to their shareholders. And they were dicking them over too. Like, yeah, Hasbro's in a fucking pile of shit right now, and it's starting to stink. Um, but yeah. So I think I'm gonna, end it there. Um, you know, I mean there is, yeah, yeah, I think that's it. Looking at my notes, yeah. I mean, they also moved to Boston. Like, are they fucking kidding? Like, I know that, after the pandemic ended and people are doing the back to the office thing, I know some companies are uh, what they refer to as quiet firing, getting people, saying, hey, you need to come back to the office. By the way, we're fucking moving and you need to either move with us, because we're not going to let you work remotely. So it looks like Hasbro's trying to do that. Not only did they lay off 400 people, they announced that they're moving from Rhode Island, where Hasbro has been for fucking decades. They're moving from Rhode Island to Boston. Like, I haven't been able to find any tax reasons to move to Boston. I mean, maybe the city of Boston gave them a huge fucking, tax incentive, but at the end of the day, it sounds like they are trying to shed more employees and just using the move, because at the end of the day, the only people to them that matter when it comes to the move is maybe an office full of computers and stuff like that. A few CEOs. It's not like they have to clean out any warehouses in, Rhode Island, because everything's produced in China and fucking comes into ports on California, in California and shit. So it's like, yeah, I mean, sounds like, Hasbro's, sticking it to their employees that they either couldn't fire or decided to stay with them at a much lower pay rate, because like I said, we all know the reason Hasbro has decided to do what they're doing is to make their fourth quarter earnings look good to the shareholders that they've been lying to. So yeah, fuck Hasbro. Yeah, fuck Hasbro. You heard me say it. If you're a Hasbro, feel more than free to leave comments. I may or may not answer them. You know what? If you guys decide to leave comments, you know who I'll let answer them? I'll let my boy Ryan from Time answer them, because, when it comes to fucking telling people to go fuck themselves, he does it the best. He's been like that since childhood, dude. Like, I know how to tell people to fuck off, but Ryan, he's at a next fucking level. So if you're a Hasbro and you want to leave comments and, leave, me some shitty comments, I'm going to give Ryan the password and let him answer your comments, because yeah, fucking Hasbro's a fucking piece of shit company. And like I said, it's been hard. Like I said, because I'm a big Star Wars fan. I've been a Star Wars fan since, God, 78, 79, after I saw the first movie and was old enough to, realize what Star Wars was. I remember seeing Empire and Jedi in the theaters. Like, I'm an old school Star Wars fan. And for them to yeah, yeah, it's like they are a yeah, Hasbro. It's been hard. It's been hard to say no to Hasbro with the boycott, because like I said, even with the QC issues, I'm still a Star Wars fan and I want Star Wars toys. But you know what? I've also noticed that Mafex is starting to fill that gap. Now, granted, we're talking a whole next level with Mafex, because I mean, we're talking, $80 to $100 action figures, but they've got a new Stormtrooper coming out. They've got a fucking Forlom coming out. There's rumors that Bosk is on the horizon. They do have, Jedi Luke from the Mandalorian, which is a good looking at the sculpt. It's a good substitute for fucking Return of the Jedi Luke. Plus, there is what SH Figure Arts has offered us, although they haven't really announced much new for Star Wars other than reissues with updated sculpts and like Luke and Han and Obi-Wan and Leia. But yeah, I mean, I know it's a whole another level when you talk about SH Figure Arts or Mafex, but really when you stop and think about it, I mean, like, I just bought a Mafex Boba Fett that was on sale last week for Big Bad Toy Store's early Black Friday sale. I bought the Mafex Boba Fett Empire Strikes Back for $37 plus shipping. Like, you can't fucking beat that. And I mean, really, when you stop and think about fucking Hasbro, they gave us that fucking Boba Fett on the Return of the Jedi card and in a box, and basically took the accessories off of him. Like, they took his backpack off and stuff like that, and they were like, "Oh, he comes with these accessories." No, he fucking didn't. Like, they took the accessories that every Boba Fett they've released has come with, and just fucking spit them out in the box. And you fucking simpletons fucking went out and bought that shit. You ate it up. Now, granted, there was the rifle that broke in half. Ooh, an extra accessory. Like, what that cost Hasbro 2 cents to fucking make, and they, jacked the price up to what, $30, $35 in some stores for that fucking Boba Fett. Come on, man. That's some fucking shit right there. Like, you guys defending Hasbro, you need to fucking stop it. Time's up. It's done. You need to end it. Like, Hasbro has been fucking you. They've been fucking their shareholders. And it's time to fucking let them know we're sick of it. Like, sorry, it's the truth. That's just the way it is. Anyways, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Um, Before I go, um, like I said, I've been kind of sucking doing videos for November because I've been dealing with family stuff and some health issues and stuff like that. But I am planning on doing a 3-part series. I'm gonna try to get it done in December. It's gonna be another little talkie like this where I sit here and talk to you. Um, but we're going to talk about the actual toy industry itself. We're going to talk about import and indie manufacturers, and then we're going to talk about the fan base itself. Because I have been to several conventions. I've been to and at several of the comic shops that I frequent, we've had conversations about how there's a difference between fan bases. Everything from difference between anime and comic and toy collectors, and we're going to talk about that. But that'll be a subject for another time. So, if you have anything to say to me, leave it in the comments. I really don't give a fuck, especially if you're defending Hasbro. I absolutely don't give a fuck. Like, share. When it comes to that, I don't give a fuck either there. But it's nice to see, a reckoning with Hasbro actually coming due. Um, Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in December sometime. Later.
Nerd. You're a fucking nerd. You're a fucking nerd. No one likes you. No